This is an analysis from Alpha Business Media.
So I want you to picture two conference rooms in Kathmandu.
Mm.
They're maybe, what, a mile apart? But ideologically, they're on different planets.
Completely different worlds.
In the first room, you have a founder. She's pitching to, let's say, a European donor agency. The slides are beautiful. The story is powerful. It's all about empowering women in rural Sinduli, reducing carbon footprints.
The language is very specific. You hear words like beneficiaries, capacity building, grant cycles.
Exactly. And the goal, is to get a grant to keep the project going for another couple of years.
And then you go to that second room. The vibe is colder, clinical. It's a founder pitching a local private equity fund.
No pictures of smiling villagers on these slides.
No, it's a forensic breakdown of numbers, customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, total addressable market. The goal isn't a grant to sustain things, it's an equity investment.
Right, with a clear end game in mind, like a strategic sale to some huge Indian company in 5 to 7 years.
And these two rooms, they represent this schism, this civil war that's happening in Nepal's startup world right now.
A schism that, according to the analysis we're digging into today, has been a decade in the making.
It has. That first room, the grant mentality, has really defined the ecosystem. It's been shaped by INGOs, development agencies, all very well-meaning.
But the hard truth in these sources is that this grant mentality, for all its good intentions, might have accidentally created a trap.
A trap that produces what they call zombie startups.
And the only way out, they argue, is this kind of shock doctrine, a dose of cold, hard venture capital discipline.
It's a huge shift. We're talking about moving from impact stories to exit strategies, and frankly, it's a shift not everyone is going to survive.
So let's get into that, because on the surface, a grant seems like a great deal, right? It's non-dilutive capital. You don't give up any of your company. Why is the analysis framing this as a trap?
Well, it all comes down to a distortion of incentives. I mean, in a normal market, who's your customer?
The person who buys my product.
Exactly. If they stop buying, your business dies. It's a very pure feedback loop. But when you take a grant, your customer changes.
Your customer becomes the donor agency.
Precisely. Because they're the ones signing the checks. And their masters are totally different. It's governments, philanthropists, policy goals.
So their success metric isn't profit. It's did we hit our sustainable development goals?
Did we check the box on gender inclusivity? So the startup rationally stops optimizing for the market and starts optimizing for the next grant application.
You become a grantpreneur.
That's the term they use, yeah. And look, it's not a knock on their intelligence. These are smart people. They're just responding to the incentives. If the money comes from writing great reports, you get really, really good at writing reports.
And you maybe let the actual business model atrophy.
It atrophies. That's the perfect word for it.
The analysis uses this hypothetical case study of the briquette business that I think really drives the point home. It's worth walking through.
Oh, the briquette company. Right. So you've got a great idea making fuel from agricultural waste, fantastic environmental story, a donor loves it, gives you a grant.
And that grant covers everything. R&D, machines, even a huge awareness campaign.
So your startup costs are basically zero. It feels like a superpower. But here's the catch. The donor's main goal is adoption. They need to go back to their HQ and say 5,000 households are using our briquettes.
So to hit that number, you price the product way too low.
Artificially low. You're not pricing based on your actual costs and a healthy margin. You're pricing to hit a metric for your real customer, the donor.
And of course, the market loves it. Who doesn't want a cheap, subsidized product?
But so your chart goes up and to the right. It looks like you've found product market fit, but you haven't. You found subsidy market fit.
And then the grant cycle ends.
The cliff. The donor packs up, declares mission accomplished, and leaves. And now suddenly you have to bear all your own costs. Marketing, overhead, everything. You have to raise the price to what it should have been all along.
And the customers.
They're gone because they were never buying the product's value. They were buying the discount. And the business hits a wall. But, and this is the key to the zombie part, it doesn't die.
It just shuffles along.
It shuffles along, waiting for the next grant to come through. It's technically alive, but it's completely uninvestable because it's never actually competed in the real world.
And this is where that second room comes in. The new wave of Nepali VCs and PE funds. Avasar, Dulma, NIBL ACE.
Right. And when a grantpreneur walks into their office, the conversation is just a whole different ballgame.
The shock doctrine arrives.
It does. Because that investment committee only has one job. Get a return for their limited partners. They don't care about your SDG report unless it somehow drives revenue. which brings us to unit economics.
The thing the grant world often gets to ignore. I mean, our listeners know LTV and CAC, but the analysis says in Nepal that math gets uniquely broken.
It's not just messy. The grant environment actively breaks the calculator. In the VC world, there's a golden ratio, right? Your lifetime value has to be at least 3 times your customer acquisition cost.
The famous 3-to-1 ratio. If it's less than that, you're just lighting money on fire.
You have a leaky bucket.
Mhm.
But think about it. If you've been living on grants, what's your CAC?
It's effectively zero. The donor paid for all your marketing.
Exactly. You have no idea what it actually costs to acquire a customer. So the VC comes in, strips away all the subsidies, and asks the brutal question. If you had to pay for every single ad, every single sales call out of your own margin, would you still make money on a customer?
And for a lot of these companies, the answer is a hard no.
The answer is often terrifyingly negative. The VC forces this forensic exam that moves you beyond vanity metrics like beneficiaries reached.
Because beneficiaries reached doesn't pay salaries.
Paying users with a positive contribution margin does.
This also just fundamentally changes the idea of scale. And this seems to be where the culture clash gets really intense.
It is. I mean, in the development world, if your project impacts 500 people, that's a huge win. That's a successful pilot. You write a great report about it.
In the VC world, 500 people is a rounding error.
It's statistically insignificant. The VC needs to see a path to 10x to 100x. They need a total addressable market that's big enough to even justify the risk they're taking.
The source uses the example of a Dhaka shawl business to explain this.
Right. So you have a workshop hand-weaving beautiful shawls for tourists and famil. It's an amazing lifestyle business. It keeps traditions alive.
But it's not venture scalable.
Yeah.
You can't 10x your output without 10xing your weavers and your costs. There's no leverage.
Exactly. The venture scalable version of that business isn't a workshop. It's a tech platform. It's software that digitizes the supply chain for 5,000 weavers, connecting them directly to international fashion houses.
It's a different model entirely. It
Yeah.
feels colder, more about efficiency.
Colder, more efficient, and scalable. And that leads to the biggest friction point of all. The goal, the end game. In the grant world, it's sustainability. In the VC world, it's the exit.
The E word, which in a lot of development circles is a dirty word. It sounds like selling out.
It's a huge cultural hurdle to overcome, but the analysis is really clear on this. The exit, whether it's an acquisition or an IPO, is the engine of the entire ecosystem. It's the only way the whole system works.
Because the investors have to get their money back with a return
Yeah.
so they can go invest in the next batch of startups.
It is the cycle of capital. You look at the PayPal mafia in the US, those founders sold their company, made a fortune, and then what did they do? They became the angel investors for Tesla, LinkedIn, YouTube.
They seeded the next generation, a feedback loop that Nepal doesn't really have yet.
We have a major deficit of exited founders. There isn't that pool of experienced, wealthy angel investors recycling their capital and their knowledge back into the system. So when a VC is pushing for an exit plan, they're not just being greedy, they're trying to kickstart that engine.
So let's look at the pitch transformation the source highlights. It compares 2 pitches for the exact same soap company, one for a donor, one for a VC. Let's start with the impact pitch.
Okay, lay it on me.
All right, the impact pitch. We are a social enterprise empowering marginalized women. We've successfully trained 200 beneficiaries with a 90% retention rate. We are requesting 5 million rupees to build a new training center to expand our capacity and meet SDG targets.
Solid. Professional. It speaks the language of development. Now here's the exit pitch for that exact same company to a VC.
Go for it.
We have a proprietary cold process formula with 40% gross margins. We've optimized our supply chain, lowering unit costs by 15%. Our target is the $500 million South Asian premium personal care market. We project a 7x return for investors via a strategic acquisition by a major FMCG player like Hindustan Unilever within 5 years.
Wow. It's just a completely different language.
It's a different frequency.
Yeah.
And notice in that second pitch, the women aren't beneficiaries anymore. They're a resilient, low-cost supply chain. The social good becomes a competitive advantage.
That sounds harsh.
It is harsh. It's ruthlessly commercial. But that's the language that unlocks the kind of capital you need to actually get to massive scale.
But okay, this brings us to the reality check. That exit pitch sounds great in a boardroom, but actually executing an exit in Nepal, that's where the rubber meets the road.
And the road is full of potholes. This is probably the most sobering part of the analysis. It's one thing to tell a founder to plan for an exit. It's another thing to actually navigate the bureaucracy.
You're talking about the deep financial plumbing. Nepal Rostra Bank, the Department of Industry.
It's a labyrinth. Foreign direct investment has high minimums, approvals can take months, sometimes years, and then there's the big one, repatriation.
Getting your money out.
Can you get your money out? If a foreign VC invests $1 million and it turns into 10 million, can they take that 10 million home? That's been a huge question mark. It makes investors very nervous.
So the analysis basically argues that fixing M&A policy is more important than hosting another big investment summit.
Far more important. You can have the best party in the world, but if the exit door is nailed shut, nobody's going to come inside.
So where does this leave the ecosystem? The source lays out two possible futures.
Scenario A is just the status quo. Grants continue to dominate, we get more zombie startups, and the really ambitious founders. They see the writing on the wall, they incorporate in Singapore or Delaware to access real capital.
A brain drain of not just people, but of entire companies.
Precisely. Nepal becomes a back office instead of a headquarters.
And scenario B.
Scenario B is the messy, painful path of maturation. The local VCs manage to get a few modest exits over the line. Not a unicorn, but maybe a solid $20 million sale to a regional player.
And that one success proves the model.
It proves the model. It shows the government, hey, there's tax revenue here, let's make this easier. It attracts some foreign capital, but, and this is the hard truth, it requires a sorting process.
The market has to separate the projects from the enterprises.
Yes, we have to stop pretending they're the same thing. Look, many startups in Nepal are actually incredibly effective nonprofits. And that's great. The world needs nonprofits. But they should be funded by philanthropy, not investment capital that demands a return.
And if you are a for-profit business, you can't be dependent on grants to survive.
Correct. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. The ecosystem has been blurring that line for a long, long time.
So this is really a massive psychological shift, moving from an aid recipient mindset to an investment destination mindset.
It's a huge growing pain, but it's the only way to build real economic autonomy.
I want to leave our listeners with this one final thought from the analysis. It's this. An exit worth $20 million will do more to put Nepal on the global tech map than 100 development conferences.
Success is the only marketing that really matters.
Which leaves a provocative question for all of us. Is the ecosystem ready to accept that some businesses have to fail so that others can truly scale? That's our deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.